refer a small debt collect cases, or with John Weiss from Netherlands, we formed a group with our own. It's a TTT, tax transport and insurance, and we meet quite often. And we know each other from IR Global, so we meet once a month to see how we can do cases together, how we can promote each other. Or beginning of the year, we pitched with members of IR Global for a company from the Silicon Valley. They wanted to do the market entry in Europe. So we competed with two big law firms from London. What I could offer them, one price, that I manage everything in Europe and that I get attorneys in every jurisdiction in Europe, and we won it. And right now we've just finished the market entry in the UK. And we're working on the French market entry and the Spanish market entry, and the other countries will follow up. So this was a really big success, and was only possible with the network of IR Global.
With a company who was looking for a lawyer in Thailand. They were expanding their work there, and they hadn't made a connection yet. So we were able to direct them to a firm through IR Global. Another bit of interesting work we did recently involved a long-running cartel investigation that had US, Canada, Europe, and Brazil dimensions to it over time. Recently, an issue came up that involved the application of UK law in a private context. And we referred our client to Stephen Hornsby in London, and that worked out quite well, and just had the chance to meet Stephen in person at this conference. The work that we've done thus far with IR Global members is predominantly in the IP area, involving looking at patent portfolios in the US, a bit of trademark registration work as well. That's another part of the work that we do. And also advising on some competition-related matters.
Well, I'll give you a specific example. I have been referring quite a complex patent license negotiation and development contract to Kazuto in Japan right now. It's a startup company in Switzerland developing a very sophisticated camera system, a new camera system, and they obviously get into prototyping now, and they the whole prototype contract negotiations. We support them from the Swiss end, and Kazuto does the Japan end, and that has proven an excellent collaboration. What I appreciate the most was that the quick reaction, the very open and transparent communication we were able to build up, because we knew each other already from the meetings in San Francisco. So that was just the latest and last such outbound referral. Outbound, it has been really, we have been giving work to Germany, to Sweden, we had work in Austria, so we keep really, for me, the IR Global members are the first stop whenever there is an export of into another jurisdiction we need to do.
Let me split into two parts. In the US, because there are so many US members, in the last month alone, I was in New York before I went from New York to Munich and now to Amsterdam. When I was in New York, I met with my colleague in New York who said that we had a case we were getting involved in that involved a television show called The Voice that originated in the Netherlands. And we have a litigation pending in state court in California, but there's an ancillary proceeding that needs to be handled in the Netherlands. And he said, we need a Netherlands lawyer. Do you know anyone? I said, well, of course, I'm on my way to Amsterdam for the annual conference. Immediately called up John Wolfs, who I know from prior meetings and having stayed friendly with him. So John was retained to represent us in the Netherlands. 2 days ago, I got a call from a client who needed help in New York on a real estate matter. I put him in touch with Richard Sussman, who was not at the meeting this year. Richard said, I'm happy to speak to him. Richard is the best person for that particular problem. About a month ago, for an Austrian publicly owned company that we represent, we had a dispute with a distributor in Georgia. I needed to set things up before I left for this trip in case there was going to be litigation. It would have been in Atlanta, Georgia. I got in touch with Michael Rosenblatt, who I also know from prior meetings, who does this work. He and his partner were very responsive. I left things in their hands with one of my partners back in San Diego. In case something happened, this is what they were going to do. That's just really in the last several weeks. My first go-to database when someone says, do you know anybody who can handle this or that, is to typically look at the IR list.
Actually, one of the ones I'm working on right now is really quite exciting. I'm working with Daiichi in Japan. Kazuki Yamamoto is right here. They contacted our firm a few months ago because of a very large cosmetics company in Japan, which has decided to expand overseas, and US was their first market. So we are acting as essentially their US general counsel, excuse me. We're doing all of their cross-border structuring work along with Daiichi, cross-border tax structuring, which is the specialty of my partner, MacDonald, who's also here. Their commercial work, reviewing their contracts, and as part of that process as well, they're a cosmetics company, which is not a drug, but if you're not careful in the United States, you could possibly trip up FDA regulations. So we got another IR member involved, Bob Silverman, who's also right here, who's giving the company US import advice and also advice with respect to their labeling, their marketing for their cosmetics so that they do not run afoul of FDA regulations. And we have, over the years, we've had a few more. We've been members for 2 years, although this is my 3rd annual conference. We've done some good contract work in between us and HERRINGTON, for example, with Mark Chapman. I've had some work going outbound. We've tried to send 2 matters, in fact, to China, to the Liaoming firm, with respect to patent and IP work. In fact, we've got some inbound work coming from that we've sent to US firms, an Arizona litigator, for example. So what's good about IR for us is that we have people who we can send work to who contact us outside the network for US firms for work that we don't do, and also outside the US for colleagues who have clients who need work and services overseas.
Yeah, that's been quite a variety, and that's what really made it interesting. So one of my favorite matters is really one that came back from the dead last week, and the interesting thing was that this was essentially an arbitration matter that we did for a German client, and but because the contract was subject to Italian law, so we referred this out to an IR member in Italy, and then it turned out that on the Italian plaintiff's side, there was another IR member, and because the place of arbitration was in Stockholm, Sweden, so they hired another IR member. And so if this, if we hadn't settled there and then, so if this had continued, probably we would have hired another IR member in Stockholm. So nice coincidence, but we would have had 5, IR members on both sides of the litigation. So that's quite nice. What we've seen is a lot of also niche matters, and we've had everything, from we had to review the legality of dash cam cameras for our friends here at HERRINGTON CARMICHAEL, who have been really good to us. We did some shipping matters with for our Greek friends, for ships that are registered on the Marshall Islands, and right now we're currently working on a case in China where we're trying to prohibit the distribution of a song that is actually owned by a music label in North America, but they're owned by an Austrian producer of energy drinks, and that song is somehow featured in a Chinese sing-along app, so we are currently handling that. And one thing that our clients do really appreciate is that that we can become active through IR members pretty much globally. So also in jurisdictions which are a little maybe out of the ordinary. So we have a small private client department, and they were really happy that they found help through another IR member in St. Martin. They had a an inheritance matter there. And also another client who had some major investment in West Africa, and also there, like from a very Eurocentric view, you know, like Mauritania and Senegal, maybe, you know, not like jurisdictions that you deal with on a daily basis, but we're like really happy that we could refer this client to I remember in Dakar, and the client was very, very pleased that we could, you know, offer this service.
Yeah, so Oksana asked me, because I've been a long-standing member of IR, and the great thing was that I knew personally people in the Philippines and in the Dominican Republic. We'd met together at a number of conferences. I had a lot of confidence in them, so I was able to put Oksana directly in touch with them. The clients then instructed them, and we're pleased to say the feedback is that both firms did an extremely good job for the clients. They're very happy with it. From our point of view, it's great because for the English company, we were able to provide them with worldwide assistance, which we would not have been able to do if we weren't part of IR. And so it's worked extremely well for all of us.
Well, as I've mentioned, it's a very valuable resource for us to be. We get emails around the firm constantly from our partners and associates saying, we have a client that needs legal advice, fill in the name of the country on an immediate basis. And to be able to respond by return email to say, I have someone from you within the IR Global Network, provides a very valuable service to the client.
You know, it's a funny thing that came up in the discussion we were having with the East Coast group that we've established. IR Global provides a remarkable opportunity to be able to service your clients. Apart from the referral network where we all have the opportunity to refer clients back and forth and earn money in so doing, being able to say to a client, yes, I can help you when they need something is a tremendous asset. As an example, last week, I had a real estate broker in Toronto that needed to prove the identity of a customer in Jordan. I was able to reach out to our lawyers in Jordan, and they're going to be able to provide proof of identity and execute the necessary documents and be able to give comfort and compliance with the regulations in Toronto. IR Global provides a remarkable base that gives us all an opportunity to expand, to grow, and to be able to rely on people that have been tested by IR Global, that have been investigated by IR Global, and to give us the comfort in knowing that whoever we retain on the other side of an IR Global transaction is someone that's going to deliver and do so in a professional fashion within the fee structures that are agreed to. And it's just wonderful.
So we work with members in a number of jurisdictions, predominantly Europe, US, and parts of Asia, which are the typical areas where there's a lot of support needed from the UK business community. Particularly in the US, we've worked on a number of IT and commercial contract projects, and we've had real estate involvement around the world where we've worked with businesses who are securing real estate needs in London and the UK. As an extension of that, we've been able to secure a visit to the Schwarz and actually host one of the events here at the conference in London. I think on the 56th floor, we've arranged for one of the US's major real estate brokerages to host the real estate breakout meeting, and that's something obviously that Herrington Carmichael has been able to secure through its connections in London.
For us to be part of a network like IR Global is important, as we have clients in 37 countries. We can impossibly know all the rules and regulations of these countries. Besides that, we are team players. We're football players and not golfers. We don't play alone, we play in a team. We love team sports. And we can learn so much from our fellow colleagues about the different works and disciplines that we have around the globe. So IR Global for us is absolutely essential to serve our clients the best possible way.
I've referred work, or I've worked together with people in Hong Kong, in Luxembourg, in the States, in the United Kingdom, in France, Sweden, wherever, and to be able to tap onto these resources is very effective. You know, you don't have to go through directory to find someone, to establish a relationship, because you have met those people and you have like an endorsement that comes up first. So the relation that we establish with a colleague is much more smoother than it would have been in other circumstances. On the other hand, we've also had referrals coming our way.
I've given a number of different assignments to attorneys in the US, local counsel assignments on various loan transactions and acquisitions. And fortuitously, I just received a call about having a lease for a client in Toronto. So that was another great source of referral.